awake inside of me. The seed of the earth that gave me birth. May we see her word everywhere. And breathe in the air of this moment, of this love, of this sunshine coming down from above. What a beautiful sight to see. All the humans awakening, all the humans awakening, all the humans awakening, all the humans awakening to the earth song, and I'm singing along. Just like the birds, these beautiful words are channeling from the earth and the sky and the stars. Exactly where we are, we're creating portals of love. Right where we need to be. Right where we need to be. Right where we need to be.
Letting go of all we think we need to know. Trusting the flow of where our feet fall. You know you gotta go. So roll down deep, stand tall. Trust the flow of it all. Right here where we need to be, just the flow of it all. Breathing That's so beautiful.
That has been our grounding meditation song, GardenFest 2024.
Thanks for tuning into the ReMinders podcast. I'm hanging out here in Pittsburgh. This is one of my favorite places, a beautiful sanctuary called Owl's Hollow. I was invited and welcomed by my buddy James and his partner Liana, who live in this house. As you can see, they're musicians and artists of many types. James does tattooing and stained glass art. He's a painter as well. Also plays upright bass and I believe many of the instruments behind me. And we stopped in last night to play a house show. I've got a really cool outdoor stage on the property, and we had a really beautiful, intimate show with the crew last night. So I've been on the road. This is day 9 of I think it'll be 12 days total. I'm going back to Nelson Ledges after this. Of being on the road with my good friends Marielle and Amanda, bandmates in the Marielle and the Flowers band. We have been making many stops on the way to and the way back from GardenFest, which is close to Portland, Maine. About a 14-hour trek if we had gone straight there, but been stopping along the way, so making quite a road trip out of it, and it has been a beautiful, fun, fulfilling time. Much to say about it. We'll probably do a recap after the fact here in the next week or two. But this episode was recorded at GardenFest with our good friends Devin and Meg, who were our connectors to that festival. Made lots of friends there, but it was really, really sweet to deepen our friendship with Devin and Meg. So this episode's a little bit of a glimpse into our budding friendship and our reflections on the event. And anyway, we're getting some good fun and flows. We also had a pop-in from a new friend whose chosen name is Wind, who shares some poetry at the end, so be sure to tune in for the full episode. Much to get into here, so let's dive back in.
Yay.
Is that an original, or you just made that up?
Oh, I just was ripping around.
Just riffing?
Oh god!
Heck yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We love riffing.
Ripping around.
Just ripping at the
ripping.
awesome, you know.
I was like,
few
oh,
chords
this
on
feels
that.
different than my guitar.
I was wondering
So
if you
beautiful.
uke often. Seems like you know your way around it.
In a minute, it
Yeah?
threw me off a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's,
Gotcha.
I love it. It's a beautiful instrument.
Do you play keys still?
A little bit, but
Okay.
not.
You're all on
longer.
guitar. Yes, or
I'm new. I'm like a newbie to a variety of instruments,
mm,
and then my voice is like my most comfortable.
yeah, better rock.
Same. I just said yesterday to Amanda that I can't wait until I learn to translate what I'm singing onto an instrument. It's gonna be
Yeah.
great unlocking.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Mhm.
and especially recently with all the jams that we've been doing over the weekend, I've started riffing as if I was an instrument, and that's been one of the most beautiful things too about like some of the jams that we've been doing. It just feels like you just can find that sweet spot just like an instrument does, but with your voice.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of like do 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 do. Like last night when we were doing that jam session,
Yeah.
whatever riff we kept doing and coming back to was so
The
beautiful.
harmonies. Well, our
Yeah.
voices are like it, and we can do so much with them.
Yeah.
Instrumentally, it's like it's so fun to play. Just see what comes out.
I love singing with you so
I love
much.
singing with you.
We listen to music like so much that like all the scales and notes and stuff are like already kind of like embedded within us,
Mhm.
like without having to like, you know, sing through a whole scale of like do re mi fa sol la mi do.
Mhm.
It's already like it's already there. So
Yeah.
when like Meg will come up with like a riff and she'll like sing something and then I'll be like just sing that like again, and like I found that she usually sings in like C or A minor or whatever, so like everyone has their own key that's like comfortable for them, and then yeah, it's pretty easy to find the notes and
Yeah.
stuff after that.
And to your point, the melody's just kind of embedded, you know? We're all drawing on our influences in that way, and like, you know, there's just certain melodies that feel really homey, and if I were musically nerdy on the physical side of things, like, I'm sure that the ratios of the frequencies, how harmonics work in that way, like the waveforms and the way that breaks up and how they literally like harmonize through the sine waves of the way that they're noting together or whatever, you know, like that's part of composition that I was really interested in when I first got into music, like wanting to really learn the wizardry behind chord progressions, and like if you really want someone to feel a certain thing, knowing what chord progressions can like, you know, guide that process for people, and I never quite tapped into that yet.
That's the wizardy essence, and then the witchy essence is remembering nothing about composition, but just like finding, like, I've been really inspired by all the women voices singing together this weekend, where I was just like, oh my gosh, there's such a remembrance with that, just birds singing together, and just like, there's an essence of just like letting it take you where it wants to go.
Yeah.
And somebody said something around those lines yesterday where it's just like, it was Libby Kirkpatrick saying that too. She'll just let it flow, see what comes out.
That's definitely been mine.
It knows where to go.
Yeah.
It's once you keep doing, and for me, jam sessions, I said this weekend, that my number one favorite thing to do in the world, in this lifetime, possibly in this entire existence, is jamming.
Yeah.
Which, if we get to the core of that's
Yeah.
like the essence of creation.
Yeah.
I said in the song circle yesterday that I look at everybody, I'm like, wow, we just experienced what creating existence is like, but
That ohm.
life
literally.
is an infinite improv jam.
Mm.
The galaxies are an infinite improv jam, all like surrounding each other in these sounds. And when you find that harmony, you find that resonance, and it's just like taking us where we need to go. And that's
Just
why I feel
playing,
such power in
That
the
feels so
in the
good.
jams.
Yeah.
Everybody comes away being like, oh my gosh, because it's a co-created experience in the moment.
Yes.
That everybody's a part of, and I say a lot of the times when I'm performing, like, it's not me that's improving, it's something else
Yeah.
flowing through me that is also attuned to all the consciousnesses that are listening. And a lot of the times I've always said, it's like whoever's in the audience or co-creating this, like, it feels like a birthing of what everybody wants to come through in that moment when you open up to channel it.
I
Yeah,
was
it feels fresh.
Yeah.
just having a conversation with someone yesterday about like the idea of like rhythm, and there's like, you know, let the rhythm pull you in. Like there's kind of like a sensational, like magical kind of like, I don't know, almost like cliche sort of thing about it. But if you think about it, it's like if the rhythm, you know, the music, but I guess more specifically like the rhythm too, being like a living entity, and it's like you're not playing the rhythm is already
Tuning
there.
into
It's
it.
playing
Yeah.
you.
And it wants to come out, and like it's got its tendrils in you, and then all of a sudden its tendrils in all the people around, and it kind of like, yeah, it's just, it's in the airways, so to say, and it comes into us and comes out. And then, I mean, you think about it, like these chord progressions, these rhythms have been around for like
Forever.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, different iterations, different subsets of that infinite, you know. I mean, even right now, like, we just listen, like, there's the rhythm of, it's just a river or creek, I don't know, of the water. And if, like, we slowed down, right now it sounds like almost white noise to us.
Yeah.
But if you slow it down, like, you might find, like, familiar rhythms in it. I mean, I don't know, I'm streetballing, but,
No,
you know what I
think
mean?
you're onto something.
Yeah.
I saw a video recently where somebody had slowed down the nighttime sounds of crickets.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I have.
And
It sounds
sounded
like a chorus.
An angelic chorus.
Yes.
I mean,
yes. Isn't that wild? Yeah. Yeah.
That was so cool to listen to.
Mhm.
You know, and just think about how nature is in such harmony that that's the sounds that
Right, on
are
every
really being
level.
made.
Yeah, every
they're so
dimension.
coherent. Yeah.
The micro and macro.
I've written so many songs through like running water, like just, even like if it's like just in the shower or whatever, like somehow if you can, I don't want to say if you can get in that receptive headspace, but because I don't want it to be like a control thing, like, but like if you're in that receptive headspace, you can hear like melodies and the drops and the babbles of the river moving over rocks and stuff, and yeah, it's definitely has a magical element to it.
A note on water songs too. One time at Serpent Mound, there was a woman who shared like a sacred water song, and I'm standing in the creek. It was all women at the time. We're doing sticks like this, and all like to a beat. And when we sang this song, I believe it was, ancient song, had this realization of like, we sang those songs in previous lifetimes, because I think, especially, the indigenous tribes of this land and all lands, I think saw that something was coming that we would forget. And so these songs, I feel like, were sung to the water to remember. When the time came, we would need to sing these songs again to remember. And I love the idea that water holds memory. And so, like, the sacred practice that I'll do is like pick up a cup and sing to it. And there's the studies with the what's the guy that does the water?
Emoto.
Emoto, yeah. Like how that can change the molecular structure of the water through the vibration. And one thing that Freddie LaRosa said in his workshop this morning with Nate was like that all the songs to ever be sung are being sung right now in this moment and all the time, all the ancient songs, all the ones in the future. And so when we plug in, we tap in, that's like I think the awakening that we're going through right now with the music is like being receptive and open. And I just can't get over, I want to just express, since we're at GardenFest, I don't know if we want to like share some of our highlights or best moments. But this morning with Freddie and Nate Jones's song workshop about songwriting, we had an incredible experience. First, everybody's like set intentions, and Freddie and Nate said really inspiring words about how they write songs, and then
it wasn't intentions, it was check-ins. So everyone was like kind of like where are you arriving in the moment, what are you feeling? And that really like set the stage for finding out a general energy of the collective that we used for the lyrics and stuff. Yeah,
and the theme was kind of a darkness into light, like capturing both. Duality, divine feminine, divine masculine, balance.
Joy, sorrow, like the discomfort of like going from one safety and then the gap of the unknown to another level of safety. That sort of seemed like a theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there was 30 of us. We split into 6 groups of 5, and everybody got 30 minutes to write a song together. And Freddie was going around with his guitar with like a loop of a riff that was catchy, and we're all just kind of in these groups singing and writing.
That's so cool.
And at the end, everybody runs through and shares their song, and each one is just perfectly crafted to like all go, they were all different, but they all just had some similar themes, and it was just seeing that co-creation of people. And what I keep saying, what I feel like is one of my missions is to like capture and you know, as much as we can, these songs of awakening, because it's like the realizations that people are coming to, and just the feelings that they're feeling in their hearts when they're translating that to music, and then you feel that exchange, and especially in your improvising and you're just feeling it. And so at the end of that one day, it was just Nate and Gary and a couple other people jamming, and we were already just feeling the spirit of the music. And one of the lines we came up with was, "We rise, we bloom." We're just like banging on the ground, like, we rise, we bloom, we rise, we bloom. And then the other lyrics we made up in our group were, from the cocoon of the womb, the great unknown, the primordial goo of you. And then me and Bria start being the goo. We're like pretending we're in the cocoon. The goo, the goo, the goo, the goo of you.
Yeah, because it's play. That's what makes a jam, you know. It's gotta be fun.
It's not working.
I'm trying to make a living on it. I gotta write the next biggest hit.
Takes the saxophone right out of it.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, the one thing I'll close with on that note is one of the other things that Freddie said was, you look at pop songs and you look at songs that are written, most of them have like 7 or so writers on them. And so he was talking about how we're moving into an age from individualized music to
Just
more
in general.
collective
Individualism
music,
in general.
individualism in general, and to more collective. And so those songs end up being so good because of that co-creation. And that's what I've felt with music ever since, like, first being a part of Song Circle Jam, is like the power that it has in all joining our voices together.
There's a great spiritual teacher, I'm trying to remember what his name was, but he said, it's always better when we're together. I believe his name was Jack Johnston.
I think
I was just gonna bring that up. Though, seriously, that's what I was thinking. It's better together. Yeah, it's been another theme of the weekend for sure. And it's just like, so then it's a question of like, how do we solidify and root in our own individual essence to the point where we can come to the band or the family or the collective and be able to harmonize the deepest, because we've cleared out our own shadow or our own dissonance to that point, and to be able to like, yeah, communicate those individual unique messages in a way that like adds to the gumbo of jamming with the universe, you know? So that's all something for each of us to, you know, just ground into that path. It looks different for everyone, I'm sure. But shadow work's a big part of it, shadow play.
Well, I think recognizing that we all are like an important piece of the puzzle, and that it's not, you know, some are here to do good work and some are not. We all are here for a very important reason, just the mere fact that we're in this existence. And I think empowering each other by, you know, showing up the best we can within our own selves with what we have to offer allows, you know, more people to feel free to do that. And I think it's so cool to come to places like this festival and, you know, community gatherings where we're all being an example for each other and creating that safe space to be like, come to the circle, like that you have a place here and your voice is important, and just continuing to weave those words into the songs we write and amplify that message, because I think that we can't have a shortage of singing those words and reminding each other, you know, because it can be this like remembering, forgetting, and you have like moments where you're like, like I'm so open, I feel so connected, and then, you know, something happens and you have to integrate that, and you might be in that shadow, like you said again. And so to call each other back home through the music is so powerful, because, you know, we go in and out of those moments of clarity, and just the more we move through this cycle of life, the more grounded we become and the more we can bring ourselves back. But to not be able to do it together is just not as fun,
Right.
you know? So
What was that like initial high of like, yes, I got to share like my songs for a bunch of people and like people listened, and like that kind of dies after a while if like you're just the only one doing it, and then but like the spark, or the inferno rather, of when you like play and sing together, like that's like, that never gets old.
Right.
For me, that never gets old.
Right.
I love the campfire jams at these festivals, like more than like anything, more than more than just like, you know, playing my own songs up there, or even like, you know, listening to other. I love listening to the other artists, but like it's freaking epic when we do it together.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we got to experience some of that last night with Tubby Love's Superpower set. After that, just like experiencing the jam, and you're seeing at this festival in particular, all of you musicians backing each other up, and that's been a theme and an idea that sparked just for me in the past couple of years about the festivals that I go to and hearing y'all's music, and you know, at Hope Fest this past year, just seeing like people's different sets and being like, I would love to be backup vocals for your song, and how to like, and have the instrumentation. We have the, you know, people that can back up these songs. And then I know you recently mentioned it, and I mentioned it at Hope Fest too, was like the creation of a songbook of these songs that then we can learn and we can like share and almost spread that message. And
Language of Light hymnal.
language of light. Yeah. So
we love that idea. I don't know if I heard that idea, that you have a binder put together. Is that part of this?
And I don't have it down here with me, but so there's like the Energy Rising playlist, which was like started because like I had a lot of time to just play music, and then, you know, I had to lock into
The grind.
And you know, scrub toilets and mop floors and do that stuff. And so I was working 6 days a week for a while, and I was like, how can I, you know, stay tapped in with this community music vibe? And like, I don't know, I'm so in love with like all of y'all's music, and like I think that, and just through like doing the whole music promotion thing, like trying that out and feeling what that's like having the Energy Rising playlist was kind of like, while we're not at GardenFest or Hope Fest or wherever, like this is still a way that we can be around the same campfire, and like we can share songs with each other. And like an artist who's on that is like, yo, I'm on this playlist. Every time they share it, they're sharing, they're supporting all these other artists that, you know, maybe don't have means or the expertise to navigate an algorithm to like get their songs out there. So it's like, this is something we can do together.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so in alignment with what we're trying to launch with this music collective, and like just really strengthening the network, like rather than it being like me as an individual node in the community, like representing as a network, like we're part of something bigger, a movement.
Yeah, and that's, you mentioned Language of Light, which is a name that's been perforating ever since my first songs circle jam. Adam Elfers was there. It was Resonance 2017, and somebody was like, y'all should make a band name, and this awesome, wonderful soul Aaron was like, Intergalactic Language of Light. And so from there I made a group.
I'm sure you said it just like that.
Intergalactic Language of Light.
I've got an
idea. And
channeling the message coming through.
Yeah. And then after that, I feel like that awoke something in Adam too, where there was like, he was hosting jam sessions in Dayton, and that's where I met some really beautiful folks. And that was like, I didn't think I could sing harmonies until, shout out to Ashley Robinson and like just beautiful women vocalists, that it was like, it was being in those circles and just singing that it's like happened naturally, which has been so beautiful. And now it's like the more you do it, the more you activate it, and to sing with different songbirds is just like so beautiful. So, but you know, so the idea behind that project has been like music collective stuff. But for me, just the name, The Language of Light, has always been like, it is like, feels just like a movement, like, and the movement for me is channeling improv jams, and what I've just said while we were walking on the log over here is that I've been saying like capturing the language, the awakening through song.
Soundtrack for the awakening.
Yeah, like in one I've shared many visions, but one is like to have like the biggest band in all of the universe, where it's like, but this is just the concept, or like what we're talking about with this community music stuff is like, we're all in the same band. We are all, and so what you said about circles and everybody being able to show up in the circle, you know, and be and find that sweet spot where, you know, like me as a musician, you know, I want those times where I can just share my song, and like, you know, everybody's craft and like figuring out how to, you know, I do this analogy a lot, where as an artist, like, I love having my own canvas and like being able to just paint whatever I want. Somebody comes up and is like, well, I'm gonna put blue all over this. I'm like,
But I had a vision
I had a vision there.
Yeah.
But then the co-creative canvases, you know, can just burst into something so beautiful. And so we're learning that co-creation. And I think as we learn that through music, we're going to learn it through every other avenue.
That's a beautiful.
And I want to
vice
mention
versa.
the shadow, because in our friend group that we were having Language of Light gatherings, you know, we lost a very dear friend, and that put us into a space that was really unexpected and absolutely heartbreaking. And so we started being like, you know, we kind of all get together and it's just light and bubbly and we're jamming and we feel so great, and you do kind of get high from the music, you know, which is a thing to note, that we have to have the grounding that grounds it back into what we're doing in our actual communities, because that's the one thing about these festivals. It's like everybody, you get so high, like just off of the vibes, but then going back into our regular lives, which is why the other mission, which Sean and I came up with last year, was Language of Light Living Festival, where it's like keeping the festival alive by doing what we do at festivals, which is the workshops, the community, the song circles, which is already happening, but it's happening
in isolated
more.
instances, and we're trying to make it a lifestyle, you know, like bring it into the everyday, like have these platforms for workshops and song circles, not just like, because then it does create almost a chasing of the dragon for some people. Oh, I gotta get back to the festival. Like, I don't feel that sense of community and connection in my in lot life, as the hippies call it.
Yeah.
You know?
Go to the ceremony, learn the lessons that you learn, and return back to your normal life, which isn't the workshops and the campfires and
Can it be though?
Through integration.
So
Village
over
building,
time.
too. Yeah, we can.
But realistically, yes, it's not
Yeah.
there yet. So if you can take the lessons from the ceremony, from the workshops, from the festivals, then it's not like you're addicted to going back to like cleansing your soul and getting high off everything. It's like, I remember this experience. This is like was my thought process or the downloading of information, whatever you want to call it, that came through to me. And because that happened to me like through just like plant medicine ceremonies, and then going and like things will bother me, and then like I'll go back, like they'll bother me, and then I'll come to this realization, and then I'll go back into like normal life, and then just like something happens, and then
ego's back online.
It comes back, which it's like it's okay, it's there,
we got the songs.
But then it's like remember what you learned, and it's like oh sweet, I don't have to continue with that programming anymore. I want to say that too, but before, because this is like rolling. Sorry. We gotta have a collab painting up there, like we did at Hope Fest, but we didn't set one up there. So
I have a piece of cardboard. We can get those earth paintings out.
Yeah, definitely. We'll cue it out.
GardenFest.
That
Earth painting.
Finding a way also. I don't want to monopolize this. I just get excited. But
Cook, brother. Just stare it up.
So if you can create something that takes a life of its own, that like creates itself, so it's like it's not like Marielle and Megan, Sean and Devin, like we go to this workshop and like they're the keeper of the keys, like if you can do something that's like, which is like coming back to the idea of the songbook, it's like, you know, sharing just pieces of paper, and then like people can be like, this song really touched me, and they go out and they share it, you know, not at
the torch. We don't have to facilitate every workshop.
And it becomes a living part of the greater organism. I like to look at things as organisms and ecosystems, because and not
that's what
as
it is.
like
Yeah, thinking in systems.
So if you can find a way to let it run wild,
it's like
lose control of it, let it just like the mycelium.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, it's spreading the mycelium rather than just one mushroom. Yeah, totally. And that's part. I wanted to speak on the idea of like, how do we remind ourselves of the insights we had in, you know, psychedelic or spiritual or religious experiences or whatever.
Or from the festivals.
Right. Literally just the connective, these types of experiences. How do we implement those insights? Tools, you know, like what tools are going to work for us? Like we could say, oh, I just need to, but then that's like the ego shoulding itself. Oh, I should like remember this. You know what I mean? But what are the things, what are the systems we can put in place to be our tools for practicing those skills, you know, and whatever that may be. Again, it's going to look different for different people.
Writing it down in song, putting it in artwork,
and having people
drawing.
in community to share with. And I want to say that when I mentioned the shadow aspect, that when in reference to language of light, we were like, there needs to be a language of darkness. There needs to be a way that we get all the stuff out.
The darkness
which
of light.
one of the things we've discussed too is not just with song, but with speaking in circles in general.
Yeah.
Like when people share their story and holding sacred space for just that too, to like, and learning how to using the tools for in skill building for conflict resolution, community, like organizing. And one of the things that I love that here at GardenFest is the reason that I chose to come was you two, of course, and I wanted to see you.
Yes.
But also, like, I particularly am passionate about the sustainability, and like I love the feel good festival vibes, but I also have that thing in the back of my head that's like, shit's going down in the world and society needs answers, but what's so beautiful about all of this is like it's coming up in a beautiful way where I believe that the solutions that are being birthed right now, the things that we need to do to help our earth heal and for humanity to heal are these things, and as they integrate, and I see this awakening that's happening within the conscious music and the conscious gatherings, is the tools that can help our communities at home, the ones that are most impoverished, the ones that are most in pain, the ones that are suffering from mental health and addiction. You know, this is an alcohol-free event, and everybody is, feeling so good because we're putting good things into our bodies. And it's GardenFest, and we're building a garden together. And that was one of my favorite moments yesterday. Nate Jones was playing his set, and we're rocking out with shovels. Like, and so that...
We were holding it down, painting and yapping.
Oh yeah, you were in earth painting session. Yeah.
While you guys were gardening, the name of his, because I was him and his dad, and the name of that project is Supercharged Dirt.
Supercharged Dirt. That dirt is so supercharged.
That was some dense compost.
Yeah.
That was some really good compost.
Yeah. And so it's like skill building too. I think at these festivals what we can start to see an evolution of too is this is in a huge opportunity for exchange of not only songs but of knowledge. And we have some beautiful elders here. Grandmother Hummingbird is so beautiful, and like the skill building, then that you can take back into your communities too. But the one thing I wanted to mentioning the hippies, I always say this, like, what went wrong with the hippies in the 60s and 70s, or like didn't fully blast off, because they definitely were saying all of these same things. They're getting in these circles, they're feeling the awakening of song, they want to all live off the land with each other, and their emergence of communes. For me, I say that, like, I think that the next level to that is that we're not going to go off into the woods, off-grid somewhere, and get away from society, because if the ship of society goes down, we're all going down with it. Like, nobody is safe when people don't have food and water. So it's like, we need for me, I'm like an advocate for having those conversations and figuring that stuff out. And one of the solutions, I think, these gatherings to start to build sustainable villages and model things, but build those in our own communities too. And the last thing I'll say on it is community music, talking about, well, everybody feels good being heard. The difference between, I think, this individual mainstream pop media and what's emerging in this new era of conscious music is that you don't have to be heard by the whole world. But if you're just heard by your community, because in villages, we would be tight-knit and singing these songs all together and sharing the songs. You don't necessarily need the whole world to hear you, but if you have people that resonate, just like our little communities, that resonate with your songs, that's enough, too.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it back to that, because I wanted to speak on what you're talking about, bringing it back to communities, and you said, like, the impoverished and etc., like the outcasts and the most marginalized groups, like, yes, 100%, but also the most local.
Yeah.
And the most local community is this ecosystem, of myself, my cells, and so that's like treating ourselves right, reparenting ourselves in that way psychologically. And then, like, the family unit, like, we all have people in our lives that we can be doing this work with, and that's the place to practice, that's the place to really strengthen the foundation, because when people feel like really connected to their families, they're going to be able to feel more capable and capacity for doing that with other people in the wider circles. So I really...
We are moving in wider circles. We are opening our circles. We are moving in wider circles. We
always keep our heads up. We'll always sing along. Let's form a great salvation through harmony and sound. We'll know the shape of progress like nature is always round.
Amen. Now with the congregation, please.
Speaking of amen, yes. Okay, so Sean makes fun of me a little bit about this because he's sick of hearing it. But it's just a funny thing. It's a funny thing, and I told you too yesterday too, where
I haven't heard, have I?
oh, it's a church thing where it's
Okay.
just like I
500
can't help but feel a lot of the times coming away from these experiences where it feels like church, and so we've been having
It
conversations.
is.
It is
I mean, that's
though.
what the real
worship.
church
It is.
Yeah.
And that's what
Right.
I feel like this revival, the music projects, the collective thing can also we could start a church in terms of we've been wanting to start a nonprofit for a while
Yeah.
and just start like a church nonprofit could be just a good choice. And what I love about it is it roots you in worship, which is just focusing on the music, which is people's most probably favorite part of church a lot of the times, and it's where people feel the spirit the most. And then service work, which, you know, going out there, feeding the communities and having inspiring messages. So yeah, and getting on this little mini tour we did, stopping to see Wolf Within in Buffalo. I thought it was a house show. We show up in the middle of downtown Buffalo at the most gorgeous church.
Yeah.
It was, the address was One Symphony Circle, and if that is not like an alignment that there has just kept on growing throughout this whole experience on this journey, and just the acoustics in churches are incredible. So
That
we
one in
find
particular.
churches that are like
Yeah,
open,
right.
and I was thinking about it. It's like it's a movement that's not based on religion, but on the feeling of love, like where there's no dogma. It's just whatever uplifts your heart to sing.
Yeah, what brings you the greatest joy?
Yeah.
And how can we amplify the love? That's
Yeah.
really all it is.
Yeah.
It's not a religion. There's not an organization. There's not a, indoctrination. It's just
Exactly.
about returning to our natural selves, which are loving, compassionate, joyful beings.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think like when we come out here and we get to just be with each other and be open, we tap into like our greatest joy, and that ultimately is what has to kind of be our true north, and so
That is.
when we talk about like going home and integrating into our communities and bringing this, vibe all over the place, it's kind of like, what can we do in each moment that will bring us joy, the highest joy.
Right.
And obviously life is not all rainbows and sunshine, but there's always a choice to realign to what your heart is desiring. And I think that heart desire feeling where it's like your whole body is like, this is a yes for me. When everybody's in that together, that's when we are in that harmonic, balanced state. And that's what
Power.
nature feels like already. So it's like, I feel like as humans, that's how I've most easily gotten back to that state, and I reset again and again,
Something that just came to me too is whatever your heart is desiring, that is what creation wants. That is what spirit is wanting too. When we feel that draw, we feel that excitement. These ideas that are coming into us and the songs that are coming through us, that is what cooks the universe. Spirit.
And don't let the lies of self-doubt
and the ancestors,
get in the way.
our ancestors are all here like,
Yeah. No, I was talking with someone last night, and like, he was like, yeah, I'm not even gonna like attempt to like go up and like share or whatever. Like, you guys are like awesome, and I'm just like, bro, like, do it. Like, there's no,
It's not a competition.
there's no voice. Like, nobody here is telling you not to. Like,
The opposite, really.
the only one who's telling you not to is like, maybe someone who wronged you in the past, or like a parent or whatever. Like, this is the space to do it, and like, not just like the space to do it or where you have permission to do it, but the space where people are receptive and open and.
Yeah, and like, what is that voice of doubt, I mean, Marielle mentioned the ancestors, and I hear a lot of people use that terminology, which to me I translate that as like DNA, like what's in our DNA, what's the like deepest thing that like, but
like
there's
in our physical body.
yeah, like just what is that energy, you know, and that's just a whole other level of the conversation, like the spiritual talk, which we don't have to get into, but the point being that like there's shadows in our ancestry too. There's shadows in our DNA. There's patterns that aren't necessarily life affirming, and especially, you know, I mean, I'm sure we all have had hurtful words come from our parents, from our grandparents, and our living ancestors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like part of it is healing that generational ancestry in our DNA and like reprogramming ourselves in that
that's a
way.
big part of it.
Big part, big part of that shadow work for sure.
Yeah, I think a big part of that shadow work is letting all the shadows be seen. There's a lot of hurt that has happened to a lot of people, and like it just keeps getting pushed under the rug and not talked about, and the biggest thing until it explodes. Yeah, and so the biggest thing is to get into circles with people, especially people that, you know, we have a lot of division in this country right now, that it's like if we just sat and talked to each other and had good mediation and, you know, maybe jammed a little bit.
Yeah, remember that
we're all
being human together.
Yeah, remember that we're all one. Like
sing some sad songs and be okay with it.
Yeah. Cry together.
Yes,
When it's safe, when it's held, and everybody's, you know, feeling safe. I feel like it can be very healing.
Absolutely.
Just to recognize that we're all moving through this together, you know, and sometimes it can feel really isolating when you're going through it, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so down, everybody's so up, like, what's wrong with me? But I think we all are moving through things, and so we might as well talk about it, because...
And then we find out that we're actually all on pretty similar parallel paths.
Which is the crazy part.
Yeah, everybody else isn't this made-up standard that you had in your mind. Like, these are what normal people, everyone outside of you is normal people.
Right.
These are what normal people
And I'm the
do.
freak.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're all freaks and we're all mirrors of each other.
Yeah.
Oh man,
We're actually
okay.
all just one.
It's downloading.
So it's like, that's a relief.
No, Alan Watts said something like, and I'm not going to quote it word for word because I'm terrible at that, but like the light spectrum moves in waves. Sound, you know, as we're recording this podcast, like you can see the waves visually, and everything goes up and down. The ocean, the tides, like the sun, the moon, emotions.
Yeah,
like
that duality.
Just stay positive, bro.
Well,
it's like no, that's
like,
not. It's yes, there will be those times. This was awesome, and then there will be times of grieving and times of facing pain, and like, you know, to be able to have those conversations, to be able to sing those songs.
Authenticity.
Yeah, and
we can raise our baseline, we can raise our capacity for enduring those.
I think some of the greatest songs are, you know, it's always good to have the Three Little Birds and the happy songs. Everything's great. But some of the greatest songs are songs that can relate, and this is my own thing, can relate to someone in a painful place, in a hard space, and be like, listen, I get you, I understand, I feel you, it sucks. Like, that's not stay positive, that's just like, yeah, it sucks, it's uncomfortable, like, but if somehow, like, someone going through that process of, like, life sucking for them in that moment, if they can, like, through their process, come like 1.0001% higher and share that realization through song, when they share that, they'll have, like, the people who are suffering, who relate to that pain, will hear that, and if they can get like 0.0001% higher from where they were at,
relief.
That's maybe not like a good or bad song, but like a successful song as far as like intentional healing. The songs that I write have always been like, you know, I don't want to write a hit single that like everybody's gonna like love. I mean, I would, but that's not the it's not the point. these have been like my own personal mantras. So I'll get in my headspace, my funk about this or that or X, Y, Z,
Yeah.
and then I'll end up playing this song. I'm like, yo, play that song. I haven't played in a while. Like, and then I play it, and that song speaks exactly to the funk that I'm going through because it is what brought me out of the funk, and it's why I wrote the song. And so, like, just having this this bag of songs to just reach into.
Well, it gives something
What's
that
up,
people
Wind?
can relate to for sure. Yeah, the wind just
The
flew
wind
in.
The wind blew
blowing
it in.
in. Yay!
I want to speak on that real quick, Devin, because Freddie was talking about that in the song workshop this morning too. Of like, you know, when we can write songs that are like true about the suffering and speaking to that, not bypassing that and going straight to the uplift, which I've definitely wanted to do because I went through a phase of feeling like, no, like there's enough like venting in song. Like I want to give something that's like affirmative messages. But it really, like, he was speaking to my soul, and it's definitely things I've been processing lately of, like, basically what he was saying is, like, start with the suffering, and then supply a resolution at the end, you know? Like, start with the relatable content, and then give the uplift, you know? And anyway, so I wanted to share that.
Then
Definitely
put a
resonated
prescription
lot.
in a playlist.
Yes, you have. Energy rising.
Yes.
I felt like I felt kind of. I just want to share how I felt. I felt kind of nervous because I felt like, okay, are my songs that I'm sharing on Friday here at GardenFest, are they too like slow and sad, you know? And I think to speak to that point a little bit, like I definitely use my lyrics and my guitar to process my experience, my life experience, and to like move the energy that is, you know, gets stuck, and it's a huge meditation for me. And so I feel like, yeah, I've reflected and been like, do I need to make my songs just a little bit more positive? Like, I don't want to like down the vibe, but then I also want to be true to like where I'm at and be honest. Like, this is an honest song about like, I'm feeling tired, you know? Go outside and play brings it up a little bit, and so I try and like go through to like, well, what can I do about it? But yeah, it's like there was this feeling in me like, don't even say that you're tired, like just say you're like doing great, you know?
No, that's the most
And it's
resonant
like-
thing is the honest.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had to like bypass that desire to like, I guess like people please, but what is that where we like think that we need to like be okay all the time?
How many people
what is
say,
that?
oh, I'm doing great, when like inside you're like, I don't want to say that I'm doing great. And we're all like, so
You're
many
like
people
crying,
going
you
through
just
that
like
same
cried and you're like, I'm
experience.
confident.
Right.
Right.
Like the majority of people, and that you let, like, still we do that.
Yeah. Well, since you
Yeah.
brought it up, Meg, I want to say real quick that, and I mentioned this to you yesterday, there's one of your songs that, like, the lyrics are bringing people into that present moment. Like,
Yeah.
are you feeling your heart right now?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, can you feel it? Are you thinking in your mind? Can you feel it in your heart? Yeah.
Boom. I mean, that's the medicine. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
bringing them into the present moment, not just story. They're like, yeah, I relate to that story, but literally, like, I mean, that's what I want to do with my music and all art. It's like
Yeah.
be a total mirror to people engaging with it. Like bring it back to the self. 'Cause that's where the work and play is really happening anyway.
Yeah.
And I want to say too, I do not think your songs are too sad. I think they're absolutely brilliant, and I think they create an incredible just space to tune in, and that it is like whatever's medicine for you. It may
Yeah.
not be medicine for everyone,
That's
but
true.
you're gonna find those who it is
Yes.
resonating with, and that's
Yeah.
what
That's
you
what
want.
it's for.
That's the siren call that you want. You don't want to make music that people are gonna listen to, and it's because you did that for them. It's because you
Right.
did it for you, and then the people that are going through what you would go through, they're experiencing that too. And
Yeah.
but your voice is just absolutely beautiful.
Oh,
Share with the world. Yes,
it's an important reminder that, you know, we need, it's not about doing it for other people, and that what you're going through, somebody else very well could be going through, and so why not, like, have, again, back to that community, like, we can share this processing to an extent. Like, we want to keep it individual, and we don't want to be, like, in a codependency thing, but to be able to see somebody talking about their experience and know that you're not alone, I think is really powerful in this healing process.
Definitely necessary.
Yeah, it's necessary. So I just wanted to share that was part of the process for me, you know.
How's that chorus go? Sing a song?
Which song? In your mind right now. Can you feel it in your heart? Feel it in your heart. Can you feel it in your heart right now? Can you feel it in your heart right now? It's a start. Feel it in your heart. 'Cause I've been sitting here in silence, but my mind is far from quiet. I guess life is just a process. Showing up is progress. No matter what the mind says, life is meant to experience. Are you thinking in your mind? Are you thinking in your mind right now? Can you feel it in your heart? Can you feel it in your heart right now? Can you feel it in your heart right now? Heart right now. Feel it in your heart right now. It's said and done. We'll just merge into the one. After all is said and done, we'll just merge into the one.
Alright, everybody in the studio audience, here we go.
GardenFest. Let's hear you. Into the one. Beautiful trees. Merge into the one heart. Merge into the one heart. Merge into the one heart. Into the one heart. Into the one heart.
I know, they're done.
I forgot that was the same song with that ending. Because when I heard you sing that, I thought it was going to be, when it's all said and done, we'll all merge into the sun. That's what I was expecting when you're on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Well,
Into the
that
one.
would be nice as well. It'd be warm and cozy.
Yeah. Another way of saying that, really. Yeah.
Well,
Hi,
beautiful,
Lynn.
beautiful expressions. We have the wonderful Wiz here. We've asked if you're interested in sharing a poem, and also if you just want to introduce yourself and anything you want to share about yourself, your poetry. You've shared some incredible poems on stage here at GardenFest, and they've been some of the most powerful poems I have ever heard, and they're so amazing. So want to give space for that. Also, you're here with Perma Tours, so if you want to give them a shout out and talk about their mission too. But yeah, you have the floor.
Yeah, it's really grateful to be here, and I'm really excited about the invitation to come join, so thank you. Yeah, thank you guys. My chosen name is Wind, and my birth name is Rihanna. I live in Maine, and my full-time job is in the mental health care field. So I feel like I have a foot planted solidly in two different worlds. On one side is the healthcare field, mental health, and on the other side, I'm a spoken word artist, event coordinator, and staff at Permatours. Yeah, Permatours is a 501c nonprofit organization that creates learn by doing workshops for volunteers to come and build regenerative permaculture projects, to hosts that have a mission and are already helping their communities. And it's really beautiful work, volunteer based, and it gives me hope for the future. It really does. And you know, we work hard during the day and then we sing by the fire at night. So we get the best of both worlds. It's really special, and we're always looking for more help to come to, you know, build these projects. We have one coming up at the end of September, the Celebration Tree Farm in Durham, Maine. We're going to be building a cob oven and an edible landscape. So yeah, come check us out. Come join the fun. We're helping build the new earth together. We whistle while we work. Yeah, it's super fun. And I'll share how I became a spoken word artist. I was trying to find my community, and I felt really alone for a really long time. So I decided to travel down to Wildwood, Florida, to go to the Zen Awakening Festival. And I didn't realize that there was conscious festivals in the Northeast yet. This was in 2018. And I went down and I stumbled across a workshop by the First Nations camp, and I was able to listen to an indigenous Mayan elder talk about the wisdoms of the Mayan calendar. And during his workshop, he went around the circle and asked everybody what their birthday was, because there's a piece of the Mayan calendar that shows us our life responsibility. And so when he got to me, he said that mine was house, which is your mind, and wind, which is storytelling.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Maybe I could like create some poetry or something.
Wow, and tell the stories through that.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful,
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah. And so when I was open to that, they started coming through, and I don't have to force myself. You know, I'm not an artist that is like, oh, I have to write a poem today.
Yeah.
I'm more just, it comes through when it comes through. I don't have to write it down, so I think that's where the house comes from. Like, I can just, it'll come out in like an hour and a half, and I'll have like a 3 or 4 minute piece that I don't have to write down, that I already memorized.
Whoa.
From
that's
start
so
to
cool.
finish.
That is a gift.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I think there's something to the Mayan calendar for that reason.
That's validated.
Yeah. And so one of my very first performances with my poetry was at Unifier Festival, and I wasn't on the lineup, but I ended up asking, and I needed a stage name because I couldn't just go up there and be Rihanna. You know what I mean? Like, I can't compete with that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I chose Wind because it was
Yeah.
the reason why I started poetry in the first place.
That's awesome.
So it became my chosen name,
Yeah.
and now the larger community of New England and our larger community of friends knows me as Wind.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's the story about that. And yeah, I'd love to share
Please,
a
yeah.
poem that I hope to perform on the stage tonight.
A little
And
preview.
it does kind of tap into what you guys were talking about, the heavier messages first, and then kind of bringing it more into the lighter. It came through and a few years ago, and I just started speaking it to people and sharing it. And I have the same thoughts as you, is like, is this too dark? Is this too sad? Like, is this going to be too triggering for people? But like, knowing and trusting that it's time now to share.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to share that one. I want to share another story with you, but I'm not sure which way to go. So many things to talk about. I gotta trust the words will flow. Trying to force a message to come will result in a blank page. For the best advice comes to me when I stop to burn the stage. These words are universal and can apply to both you and I. When I pause to hear this poem, I feel into my heart and cry. Witnessing the hate on my social media feed brings sorrow to my soul, because hate will not make us free. Why are we so cruel to those with a different view? It doesn't matter who's wrong or right. It's about who knows how to grow food. If you're coming from a place of wanting to inform, remember to check where that's coming from. We all deserve to be warm. But if we belittle our neighbors and if we degrade our friends, we have a bigger problem now if we cannot make amends. So it's up to us to learn our pain and how we move in this world. We can't afford to get distracted and get caught up in the swirl. We are the ones to break the cycle and leave old patterns behind. We are here to build the new earth where nobody will be left behind. If you find yourself wondering if you're a part of this crew, chances are the answer is yes, if you notice the 144,002. By now, we should know that this life is no competition. It's about inviting everyone to gather for food in the kitchen. If someone makes a choice that you feel isn't right, are you gonna pass the bread or try to start a fight? We all have a decision to choose which way we act. But sometimes our triggers make us feel like we're being attacked. Sometimes humans are prideful and we look down on each other. We often forget that we all struggle, and we are all sisters and brothers. Although there is a clear division at this time in humanity, will you work on your own life lessons and meet us by the fruit tree? And now it's up to us to say enough of this choosing sides. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and there's no more time to hide. I trust that I was guided to write these messages for both me and you. And if you can hear this message, you may be searching too. Searching for a place that you've never been before, but somehow you recognize a feeling. And this feeling, you cannot ignore. Yes, I'm talking to you. And I know that you can hear. You have the answer. Search within. Allow your mind to clear. And that was the message, waiting patiently to be seen. I trusted I would be a channel. If you know what I mean. I leave you with this question. You have a choice, you see. What are you willing to do to save humanity?
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. For
Thank you
that.
so much.
Those words
That
are
was
so
one of the
powerful.
favorite poems I think I've ever heard. Like in this moment.
That's an experience.
You literally
Helen.
just
Like,
summed
you
up
experienced that
our entire
viscerally.
You need to take that to the
conversation
kitchen.
in one poem.
You need it. The bugs is getting
Yeah, the bugs are getting.
Yeah, the bugs are getting
Yeah.
us.
So a little wrap
This is
up.
so good.
I like to end with, we can all take turns either highlighting something that stood out from this conversation or the weekend, or anything that you wanted to say earlier that didn't get a chance to. So if anyone has anything off the bat, I'd have to think about it for a sec. Highlights. And specifically if there's anything like a reminder that we can take into action in the future, you know, integration prompts.
I guess if I'll go first, and I'll
Please.
keep it quick for the wrap up, because I know it's Christmas and we're all trying to wrap presents. Just wasted a lot of seconds there. So, yeah, just being able to have this conversation, having a conversation about having conversations about hard things. It's okay if you're sad, it's okay if you're having a hard time. Nobody wants to hear about my sad stuff. Like, we all go through the same sludge together, so like, it's okay. And another thing, as far as going to church or going to the ceremony or going to the festivals, that's not your place to go. You get your stuff and then you leave, and then when you run out you come back for a fresh supply. To take it as you know, that's not the church, the people doing the workshops, the musicians, they're not the gatekeepers. But if you can make it a living organism, if you can let the songs be carried on their own, if you can, I don't know anything about gardening, show up to GardenFest, you do your first hugelkultur bed, boom, it's like, educate, let the living organism take its own life form and go out there and, yeah.
Very good.
You drop.
Thank you.
You dropping from the sky.
Magdalene? I'll go last. I want to make sure you guys get a chance.
Oh, I'll just say real quick what's in my mind, which is, I think, just being as honest as we can be with ourselves and with each other. Because there's no point in trying to play a character or a role or hold back, you know, parts of yourself because you're concerned that it's not going to be accepted. I think it's becoming clearer and clearer to me, and through these types of community things, that, you know, it's a disservice when we do that. And how we find our people and our connection is through just being honest with who we are, and, you know, being okay with that uncomfortability, but moving through it on the other side is like this warm embrace of like, I feel safe to be me, and I feel safe to be here. So I think that that's an important lesson that I'd like to share and leave with. And I thank you guys thank you for holding this space.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been
Thank you.
really cool chatting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have immense gratitude for getting to have this conversation, and I just appreciate Devin and Meg so much. The way that you show up is so, like, I feel like family with you, and I already feel like family with you. And I've only known you for a day, but I am so excited to
few
know
hours.
you and permatours, and I mean, that's, again, like, that's why I was excited to come to GardenFest. But not only has GardenFest activated, like, the just solidified this absolutely want to help build gardens and at festivals and sustainability events, but the music here has been absolutely enlightening, and just so take away, like, let's do the damn thing. Like, I have so many reasons in my head, so many things I go back into the matrix about, that and perfectionism and procrastination in my mind that keeps these projects, like, not from moving forward. And so I just want to acknowledge that and like move through the blocks, like have that radical honesty with each other, and how we, and what one of the things you said, Devin, that resonated was like, build it for a life of its own. May we build the communities, the music collectives, the songbooks, the ways of organizing gardens that then will carry our children's children into the future, and they will look back on this time in history and be like, those were the songs that were written during the awakening, and that when everybody woke up and worked together in the gardens again. So yeah.
Yeah, feeling into my heart out of what I want to share. I just want people to know that the new earth that we're all seeking, that we're all praying for, it's happening now. And there's so much chaos and destruction and death and grief in the world right now. There will always be. And there will always be these beautiful pieces of heaven on earth that we're cultivating together. And I just want to share with people that might be stuck in the other side of the, I don't want to say darkness, it's just the difference, you know? That the good stuff is still happening, and we're still gathering, we're still laughing and building together, building gardens and working on sustainability and working on, you know, nonviolent communication, and we are actively doing this. And I just want people to know that, because sometimes people get lost and they lose hope. Yeah. And I want people to not lose hope, because it's happening, it's here, we want you to join. And just like reminding ourselves that like it's also okay to be sad, it's also okay to grieve. We need that balance. There will always be balance. So what are we focused on? You know, what are we putting our energy into? It's okay to feel sad. Don't get trapped there. It's okay to be happy, but don't be ignorant to what's going on. So that's what my heart is wanting to share at this moment, and I so fully appreciate being invited to this. And this is like my first time being on a podcast. So I really appreciate the invitation and for like listening to you guys. And I know I came towards the end, but it was really beautiful.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah, it was just really beautiful to be a part of with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate each of you for wanting to hop into this container. And my thought to wrap up is, I was remembering, so we did a sweat lodge yesterday morning real early, and one of the main things that came up for me was, well, to echo what you were just saying, Lynn, that, you know, there's a lot of grief that still needs to be processed, and that's a big part of the shadow work that we've been talking about. And so I was, you know, I've been aware of that in my own body and my own self here, and the sweat lodge really helped loosen things up. But what I was going to say is that I was thinking that in our culture, there's not really like any meaningful or consequential like rite of passage, like becoming an adult type of events, vision quest, or whatever it may be. And I really feel like we're suffering from that. I think that, you know, I just had this thought of like imagining kids being in this sweat, and that they might be like, I don't know, crying or like just maybe voicing the discomfort that many people are feeling or whatever, and that might be, I don't know, it was just this thought of like, well, kids just don't know, you know. And I feel like that's true of myself in many different contexts. Like, I just don't know how to whatever. And so I don't know, I just wanted to share that I felt a lot of empowerment by going through that experience, and like just letting myself like grieve and like express that, not hold that in for whatever reasons. And that's just a huge part of creating the space for fertile soil for all of these beautiful things that we want to see created and sprouted and bloomed in our life. And anyway, Much love, y'all.
Nice.
Love.
Hey, there's
Shoot.
I was just thinking like there's a great way that we can activate the awakening and peace on earth, and we have to like pull a lever, but we all have to pull it together.
Okay.
Where's the lever? Is it?
Pull the lever, Krong.
It's over here somewhere.
Do we activate it through a tone?
Oh, here it is. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Come on, you're gonna need to come over here.
Where is it?
It's right here.
Okay.
So it goes this way. So we'll have to push. Marielle will have to pull.
Okay.
Okay.
What am I
3,
doing?
2,
Okay.
1. I feel nirvana.
We made it.
Garden awakening.
Oh my gosh. So fun.
So good.